Hello everyone and welcome to Naomi's Bookshelf. I'm going to do a little haul today. So historically on my channel, I don't do hauls. I just have never felt like filming them or keeping track of it, but I did notice that I bought a lot of books last year because I don't think I had accountability, which is a little bit of a problem. I love it when people are able to buy books and support publishers and authors and support their local used bookstores or thrift stores. I think it's great. I, however, have a problem. I own over, I would say 700 books, if I'm being honest, and I don't need to buy a lot of books every month. So I'm going to do this little series twice, well, not twice, every 2 months, just to maintain a sense of accountability and also we're tracking my purchasing and knowing that if I buy a book, I have to show you the book, and hopefully that will curb me buying books I don't want, and then I can actually be very selective about what I pick up. So we're gonna do this. I don't remember how many books I have, but I have a few. So first up, I purchased a few books for the Little House Readathon, which came in time, but I didn't end up reading most of them. So I own them now and I'd like to get to them eventually. One of them is Little House in Brookfield by Maria D. Weltz. This is a Caroline book, which I don't know anything about those particular books themselves. I just bought them because they're in the Little House universe. I also bought On the Way Home by Laura Ingalls Wilder. This is her nonfiction diary about the events after the first 4 years, that book. So I will be happy to read this one eventually. I'm actually very excited and interested in this one still. I'm interested in them all, but extra interested in that one. Next, I have Little House in the Highlands by Melissa Wiley. This one is a Martha book. So this is Laura's grandmother, great-grandmother. I think it's great-grandmother. Don't know anything else. I have here a Charlotte book, which is Little House by Boston Bay, also by Melissa Wiley. This, I believe, was Laura's grandmother. So Martha must have been her great-grandmother. I do have Young Pioneers by Rose Wilder Lane. This was the group book for the readathon, so I did read it, but it was an interesting read. So you can check out my review for my mid-month wrap-up for that one if you'd like to check out that. Next, I have The Far Side of the Loch by Melissa Wiley. This is another Martha book. I believe all of them take place in Scotland, or most of them, so that would make sense. Then I also have Little Town at the Crossroads by Maria D. Weltz. I think this one might be a Caroline book based on the author. Yeah, I think this one is a Caroline. I don't know. The inside doesn't really clarify that. So moving on to the next section of books. So I have here Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl. I have never read this one. It was never part of my curriculum growing up. I was homeschooled and I read lots of different books, but I never had this one on my list. So I will be reading this one later this year with Spinelli Speaks. Danny over there, we're going to be buddy reading it and knocking this one off of the should have read bucket list. Next, we have a book club book, which is really exciting. Here's Emily Dickinson's Letters. This is the Everyman's Library Pocket Poets. I get mixed up on that publisher name. However, this is the letters collection that we will be reading for the Fierce Women's Book Club. I also got The Doctor's Perfect Match by Irene Hannon. This is a little love-inspired, so this is like a Harlequin romance, but with more of a Christian theme, so it's a little more on the sweet side. And I haven't read this one yet, but I have read something else by this one. I got confused for a second, but I'm excited to pick that one up after reading the other book by that author. Next, I also have Claiming the Single Mom's Heart by Glenna Kay. This is another love-inspired book, so it's similar, cheesy, fun, super fast romance. I also have here Marique, Ashes in the Pathway by Kirkpatrick Hill. This is a Girls of Many Lands book. This series takes place over all the continents and it talks about different places and cultures and how girls grew up in those cultures. I haven't read this one yet, but it is sounding interesting. The author, from what I can tell, is not First Nations, but she has lived in Alaska all her life, so she does have the Alaskan background, even if she is not a known voice's representation of this. I am still excited to get this one though. I found it at my thrift store for very cheap. Another book that I got was Becoming by Michelle Obama. I got this because my book club was reading it and I needed to read along and read it faster than the audiobook. But I'm really glad that I bought it. It's an amazing story about overcoming obstacles and overcoming things like race and indifference. So I really enjoyed that one. I'm gonna find a place to put this. There. Then I have here The Lighthouse Keeper's Daughter by Hazel Gaynor. So I don't know much about this one, but the title caught my eye. I've read several Lighthouse books and really enjoyed all of them, except for The Light Between Oceans, which I did enjoy. It was just very slow. But this one sounds really interesting. I think it's a dual timeline from the 1800s and early 1900s. And there's some sort of mystery element, and this is going to be historical fiction, mystery, dual timeline. I'm excited. Those are all buzzwords for me. Another one that I have here is the 12 Brides of Summer collection. So this is 12 different authors for Christian fiction. They each wrote a novella, and I think that's the best way for me to discover authors. I don't like short story collections, but I do like novellas, and so I'm excited to pick this one up and try some new authors. I don't think I've read any of the authors that are listed here, but I'm excited to give it a shot. I'll probably read it in summer, to be honest, as that seems appropriate. I next have The Mystery of Mrs. Christie by Marie Benedict. This one I heard interesting things about, and I love the premise of it. It's discussing those 11 days that Agatha Christie went missing, and no one knows what happened to her. She never talked about it. And this is Marie Benedict's idea of what happened, to my understanding. However, since this has been released, I've heard some mixed reviews, and so I'm not super hyped on picking it up again. However, I'm glad now that I own it, and now I should actually prioritize reading it, since I did buy it brand new. Another one that I have is The Bride Test by Helen Huang. I don't know much about this one in particular. I know that everyone was loving it, along with her other book, which was The Kiss Quotient. I found this one and I am excited to try her writing. I love a romance, but I also love that this one I think has representation of autism, I believe. So that's great. And also people of color, and it's an author of color. So I'm excited to get to this one pretty soon, I think. Next, I have I have an Agatha Christie because I own so many of them. Why stop now? That's Ordeal of Innocence. I picked this one up earlier this year and I am excited to get to reading this one. Don't know anything. Sounds like it's a court case though, almost one. So I really enjoy those ones from Agatha Christie and I love those ones in general, but I'm excited to get to this one very soon, actually in March. Then I have A Dance in Dougal, which I don't know anything about. I bought this solely because a book club that I am a part of is reading this, and it was at my local bookstore. So this one is historical romance, and it says in the Emerald Isle or something in 1920, so it goes in Ireland. That's exciting. I clearly knew a lot. Maybe I'll read it for March for St. Patrick's Day or something, if I have time, but I have that one because my book club is actually discussing it at the end of March, so I should read it anyways. My last book is a duplicate copy. It is The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. Actually, I should mention that this one is by the author of Jennifer Debiel. This is her debut novel, so I'm excited to try her writing. Anyways, Phantom of the Opera. I love these editions. I cannot help myself. There is something about these editions and Agatha Christie books I cannot stop buying. So I have like La Meze in this edition. I have The Count of Monte Cristo in this edition. And yes, I already own another Phantom of the Opera, but look at that cover. It's just great. And I love how there's a quote on the back and it's beautiful. Also, look at these inside pages because pretty awesome, right? I love this book. I think this is such a great introduction to horror. I read it and I really, really enjoyed it. I want to reread it and be like all inspired again. I love the play. I love the musical. I love the movie. I love the music. I love everything about the Phantom of the Opera. So I'm excited to reread this one eventually, and I'll probably read it in this edition. So that's my last purchase of the first 2 months. So that will be the end of this haul. I plan on doing these every 2 months, like I said, just for the accountability purpose. So this is going to be a series for the year. We'll see how it goes. I hope I can keep it to 20 books like it is now or less every 2 months, because I do not need to clutter my life with more books that I have not read. I need to read the books I own. So kind of a dual purpose for this video series. Anyways, please let me know down below in the comments if I should prioritize any of these, as I have read, I think, 3 of them. That's another problem of mine. But also, please let me know down below if you'd like to buddy read one of these, and then I can push up my priority list. You can leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and you can also subscribe if you are new here. I hope to see you in my next video. Bye for now.